Welcome back. We're discussing recent developments in Pakistan that have led to parts of the country enforcing a far stricter interpretation of Islam, leading to a comparison with the situation under the Taliban in Afghanistan. Joining me for the discussion is Asma Jahangir, Pakistan's leading human rights lawyer, who's campaigned vigorously against the Talibanization of the country. As we get back to our discussion, a call from Dublin, coming from Shariar this time. Go ahead with your question, please.
Hi, Riz. Thanks for having Asma over. Asma,
Hi.
It's great to see you on Al Jazeera.
Pleasure.
Asma, my question is, it's just very simple. I mean, we know we are fighting a war which is not ours. And on the other hand, we have this threat that our government refers to as cancer. Very simply, what do we do? Which side do we take? We are confused. We don't know what to do and where to look forward to. Thank you.
Okay.
You know something, that for me to tell you what side to take would be very difficult. I think what we have to do is to monitor the situation with the principles that we believe in. I know that an operation of this kind has to always be a last resort. And we still have to monitor it because we don't want to see indiscriminate killing. I would not want to see even the Taliban killed in an awful manner. That is not what we want our country to go through.
Presumably, if any of those that are being recruited into the Taliban, I mean, obviously they're following a particular ideology. Where is the Taliban recruiting so many people from? What is it that's driving people to them?
You see, that's the point. Now, when I sit back and say, okay, the Taliban are horrible, go kill them, this, that, and the other. Look, I've talked to some of the very extreme militants myself. They have a story behind them. And the story is not as is portrayed in the Western media. You know, no food, no opportunity. It's recruitment. It is absolutely a positive act of a state to recruit people.
And of course, the Taliban has, to many people, presented itself like as a Robin Hood type of figure.
Well, that's come later. And you see, we call it Taliban. Let's get that straight first. There are people who are outside, who are foreigners, who belong to the Al-Qaeda lot, or so-called Al-Qaeda. There are genuine Al-Qaeda Afghan people, and there are local militants. And all of them have been allowed to make connections between themselves while Mr. Musharraf sat on his backside and ruled that country, and denying for many years that there was anybody there in Fatah. And the Bush administration, foolish as it was, first bought it and then tried to convince him that yes, there was somebody there. But who brought them there? Riz, that's a question. They didn't obviously come on bicycles there. They come on big cars. When they operate from there, they're not taking a bottle of, you know, sort of petrol in their pockets there. There are tankers that go there. There's gun running that goes on there. The kind of equipment they have is far more. So it's not a question only of military operation. It's a question of cutting off
the supply chain.
Supply chain. Yeah. Where are they getting the money from? We believe that elements within Saudi Arabia are still funding. Now, why is that not being cut off? Why is the Pakistan administration and the US administration quiet about this? Is there a kind of a conspiracy of silence on this issue?
Or perhaps an inability to find a possible straight solution because of the complications?
No, well, no, I don't know. Obviously, it is inability. But look, you have to address this question. This has gone on for too long. Not only in madrasas in Pakistan, madrasas in Tajikistan, madrasas in Maldives, madrasas in Azerbaijan. Where are these madrasas being funded from? From Saudi Arabia. And why is nobody talking about Saudi Arabia? Great friend of Pakistan, where most of the people who are executed are Pakistanis.
But do you believe it to be an official Saudi policy or just elements within Saudi Arabia that can...
How do I know? But has anybody addressed it? I don't live there. I don't have know-how there. I simply know that our youth is being corrupted.
Let's get Salim on the line from Qatar, who's been waiting patiently. Salim, thanks for your question or comment. What would you like to say?
Yes, thank you. I have tremendous respect for Ms. Jangir's humanitarian work. I just feel, though, that with regard to her narrative about the military, it may need to be moderated a little bit because, of course, the military has made egregious mistakes in the past, but they can change as with any other institution. And now if they are taking these militants head on, we should at least, not go on demoralizing the institution. Because if it wasn't for the military, we have to keep in mind that probably we would have gone the way of Afghanistan because we wouldn't have had the capacity to defend ourselves internally.
But do you feel the military is behind it to a large degree? Is that right?
No, I don't want to
elements?
demoralize him. He is partially right, and I accept his criticism. I think that the ordinary person in the military is very disciplined. But I'm talking about the decision makers in the military. And I don't think that they would ever get demoralized. They have demoralized this nation for long enough to ever get demoralized. Even now I question whether this operation is well thought out. I question whether this operation is selective. Because when you are doing an operation in Swat, do you think that the militants have to pick up their aunt and uncle and their goat and sheep? They are single people, and they can go to Fatah, where they will be, sort of embraced there. And what is happening in Fatah? What is happening in North and South Waziristan? Do we know anything about that? Do we know anything what is happening in several of the madrasas that they control in southern Punjab?
We've got a call from Saudi Arabia. Let's get a question in from Mohammed in Saudi Arabia. Mohammed, what would you like to ask?
Yes, hi, Riz. I'd like to ask Asma that, I mean, it's okay to focus on the Taliban as a class struggle, but I wish you would focus more on their misogynist attitudes, their hatred of women, the way they try to stop the girls from going to school, they bomb the girls' schools, because if they do that, we'll have all these uneducated women and they'll be raising these retarded children, and then the whole population would become fodder for arms and bombs from other countries, and that would be totally disastrous. And I think the Pakistani society needs to look at itself. Do we encourage this type of separation between boys and girls? We should change our cultural attitude so that men and women work together in all areas, in sports, in music, and arts. We really need to relook at ourselves.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, friend, for saying it. But first, this is Saudi Arabia, the only country in the world that is doing this and sending this message to everyone that this is true Islam. For God's sake, stop it right there. I tell you something, not only are girls' schools bombarded, there is no woman doctor there. Obviously, they're not going to stay there.
This is something you've been fighting for a long time, though.
Of course I've been fighting, but it is even beyond that. We as human beings, I mean, I have seen documentaries of young girls who have seen heads on a street and said they have not been able to focus. Women, you can put them in a veil, and yet you want them to see a man hung on the street. They have taken out dead bodies and hung them up.
Yes, traumatizing basically for the population.
This is traumatization, this is dehumanization, this is terrorizing of the population in the name of religion that I do not accept. I cannot accept, I cannot and will not accept that any religion or any ideology can be put forward as an emancipatory ideology for anyone. It is totally hypocritical.
Well, Asma, literally 10 seconds to go. Are you optimistic things will improve?
I have to be optimistic. And I'll tell you why.
Because
Pakistanis are very resilient people. We have gone through so much. And I think every time something goes wrong, poor Pakistan. Poor Pakistan. We have done so much, we think so much, we care so much for the rest of the world.
Asma, I want to thank you very much for taking the time out to speak with us. Thank you. And that's it for this show. On the next one, the world's largest democracy completes its massive election process. In India, the outcome remains uncertain. We'll take a look at that. Join us from that. Me and the team. Goodbye.
Da